The gates of the fair opened with a heavy groan, and the visitors rushed inside, eyes wide as they stepped into a world unlike anything they had ever seen. Buildings tall and white stretched toward the sky, glowing under sunlight and reflecting in still pools that lined the avenues. Elijah, a young architecture student, stood frozen, just inside the entrance sketchbook clutched in his hand. He had studied every plan, memorized every diagram, but none of it prepared him for the feeling of standing inside the White City. It was not just grand, it was alive. People moved around him in awe, but Elijah noticed something strange. A man dressed entirely in white standing motionless near the court of honor. His face expressionless, and his eyes hidden under a wide hat. No one else seemed to notice him, as if he did not exist. Elijah brushed it off and wandered toward the machinery building, passing by fountains that sang and electric lamps that hummed overhead. He marveled at the massive engines spinning and sparking. But that unease crept back in when he turned a corner and found the man in white again. This time, near a display of future city models, their eyes met, and Elijah felt cold, as if something had passed through him. A woman brushed past him, whispering softly without stopping. The lights were never meant to stay on after sunset. Her words sent a chill down his spine. He tried to follow her, but she disappeared into the crowd, disturbed but curious. He wandered deeper into the fair, finding places not listed on maps. Strange hidden corners with murals that shifted when he blinked and statues that seemed to watch him. One exhibit showed a timeline of future inventions, some of which had not yet been imagined. Elijah asked the guide how they knew these things, but the guide only smiled and said some minds see more than others. Elijah left just before closing his mind, racing as night fell. The lights of the fair pulsed brighter than before, glowing with a rhythm like a heartbeat as he reached the edge of the grounds. He looked back and saw the man in white standing under a lamppost, hand raised in what seemed to be a silent warning, and then he vanished into the dark. Elijah could not sleep, haunted by the strange symbols, glowing lights, and the man in white. He returned to the fairgrounds the next morning before the crowds arrived, slipping past staff with confidence, fueled by fear and purpose. He headed straight to the transportation building and found a door marked staff, only its handle cold but unlocked inside. The room was dark, lit only by a single bulb swaying overhead. Mechanical parts were strewn across tables, but in the center was a detailed model of the fair, unlike any he had seen. It was perfect down to the last column, but in the middle where the dome should be was something strange, a glowing circle, carved with symbols that moved like water. Elijah reached out to touch it, and the room shifted. The air thickened and the light grew warmer. A voice spoke inside his head, not loud but clear. The fair is not what it seems. It is a test, and you have been brought here to witness. He turned around, heart pounding, and saw the man in white standing in the doorway, his eyes pitch black, not terrifying but infinite, like voids that held stars. "You should not be here," the man said softly, "but it is time you knew the truth. The White City is a reflection of what the world could become, a vision, a warning, a chance." Elijah stepped back, unsure whether to run or listen. The man continued, "All this was built to see if your kind could rise to something better. The inventions, the beauty, even the lights, they are signal signs sent out to more than just your people." Elijah asked, "What happens if we fail?" The man tilted his head. "Then the lights go out and they do not return." Elijah tried to speak, but another door opened behind him and footsteps echoed down the hall. Others were coming and they would not understand. He darted past the man into a service tunnel, unsure where it led. The air grew colder and the sound of humming filled the space, not mechanical, but alive like a song sung in reverse. He emerged somewhere behind the administration building, just in time to see the fair lights flicker once, then stabilize brighter than before, as if something had awakened beneath the city. Elijah stood in the crowd again, but everything felt different. The laughter, the music, the fireworks above all seemed like distractions to keep eyes from what lay below. He walked slowly toward the electricity building, searching for the hidden path he had stumbled into before he found it just as before behind the stacked crates and slipped. Inside the tunnel, the warm hum returned, guiding him forward until he reached the secret chamber. Once more, the floating sphere of white light hovered silently in the center. Symbols danced on the walls, and the voice spoke again. Clearer this time, you have returned, because you seek truth, not comfort. Elijah felt drawn to the sphere, not by fear, but by need. It showed him visions, not of magic, but of possibility. Cities without smoke, skies without borders, people working together, not for gold, but for growth. And then the visions changed. War fire machines turned to weapons, not tools, and the white city swallowed by darkness. The voice grew faint. We showed you what could be now. It is your turn to choose. The sphere dimmed and the chamber grew cold. Elijah turned and left the tunnel sealed behind him as if it had never been. He returned to the fair one last time and saw the man in white standing at the far end of the court of honor surrounded by lights that no longer flickered. The man gave a small nod and vanished into the crowd. Elijah never spoke of what he saw, not to his professors, not to the press, not even to his family. Years later, when the fair was dismantled and the white city faded into memory, people only remembered the lights, the music, the inventions. They never knew the truth buried beneath stone and time. Elijah became a quiet man, a builder of schools, a teacher of ideas. He passed down no warnings, only inspiration, but in the back of one of his sketchbooks, scribbled in fading ink, were the same words that had once echoed in his mind. We were given the light. What we did with it was our choice, and below it a small drawing of the sphere floating quietly in a place where time had once stopped and listened.